Thanks for listening to the Good Enough Wellness Podcast. I'm Kayla.
And I'm Emily.
And we're passionate about holistic wellness that real people with real lives can achieve.
We see you out there striving for perfection, but we want you to know that good enough can be good enough.
Before we get started, everything we talk about in this show is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. Always talk to your healthcare provider before making any changes to your diet, lifestyle, medication, or supplements. You're listening to episode 38, When You Have a New Hammer. In this episode, we are going to talk about navigating all the new and fun things you're learning on this podcast around family and friends.
So what have you been nerding out about this week?
So this week, it's not a super deep dive, but I have been learning about the subconscious mind and thinking a lot about the subconscious mind. I listened to a very interesting podcast episode about hypnotherapy.
Oh, interesting.
And it's not something I've ever given any thought to, like beyond like what you see in a cheesy Disney movie. But it is super fascinating. I think I'm going to have to go back and re-listen to it because I was like, honestly, a lot of this really makes sense. And I don't think we give our subconscious mind enough credit for how it affects our everything. Like I don't even know how to narrow it down because it does like affect our physical health. It affects our mental health, obviously. Like it affects everything.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and it was super fascinating. So
that does sound interesting.
Yeah, I've been just like thinking about it, like mulling it over in my head for a couple days now. And I'm just like, that was so interesting.
That's cool.
So, Emily, what about you?
Pizza. I'm still nerding out about pizza. I talked about pizza, it was the last week or the week before. And it switched from what's good to what I'm nerding out about because I am just kind of like deep diving on how to make good pizza. And this week in particular, I learned how to do the Neapolitan slap technique.
I love it.
It's not as satisfying as it sounds.
Oh, I was like,
no husbands were harmed in the making of this pizza.
Well, I mean, redirect the slapping energy to the pizza, right?
Yes. But it was really cool because I was having trouble. Like last time I talked about how I found this really good dough recipe and I made that same one again. I used bread flour this time and I think it improved the texture even more. So bread flour is like a little higher protein, right? Which means it can like develop better gluten strands, I guess, basically. Yep. So I wanted to learn how to shape it better because while I shape pizza okay, I guess, I was having trouble with getting like thin spots and they would rip and stuff when I was trying to make this thin crust. So like every good deep dive starts, I started on TikTok, how to shape pizza correctly. So I'm looking at people who are like own their own pizzerias, their own like mobile pizza shops basically. And I'm like, if anybody knows how to like shape a good pizza consistently and efficiently, it's somebody who's making thousands of pizzas a week. So It's very cool. I really can't even describe it other than like the way you stretch it. You're kind of like stretching and slapping it over, but then also rotating at the same time. So you should look it up. It's very cool. The Neapolitan slap technique. And I ended up with the most beautiful round pizzas that I've ever had. None of them ripped. And the crust was like, it was perfect, like chewy and crispy, and I was so happy with it. But all of that to say that it kind of reminded me how like no matter what you know or how much you know about something, there's always more. Yeah. There's always more to go deeper and perfect. And not that you have to do that with everything. You don't have to. Like I can make pretty okay pizzas without doing all these deep dives, but it's so good for, I think, your creative energy and your brain to like, how can I do this better? How can I get even nerdier about this? And my hope was that, and I think I've got there, that I could learn enough to actually make it easier and not harder. Right. Like that was the goal, to not be like, I need to do this super complicatedly. It was like, no, I need to learn how to do this efficiently so that it's like just so easy to do pizza night from here on out. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm nerding out about. And I can't wait for next week when I'm just like, hey, let's talk about sauce or something. I don't know. Yeah.
How are we upgrading the pizza yet again?
Yeah. If you're going to nerd out, pizza is a good place to start. Hey there, Goopers. Yeah, Goopers. You know, you guys who listen to the Good Enough Wellness podcast, that's your name now. Get used to it. Are you craving a healthier, more balanced life, but you're not sure where to start? Or maybe you've tried all the tips and tricks that seem impossible to keep up with because, well, you've got a real life. Sound familiar? Here's some good news. We've got something just for you. Our free Patreon community is all about holistic wellness that works for real people just like you. Whether you're juggling a busy schedule, navigating health challenges, or just curious about improving your digestion, sleep, or energy levels, we're here to help you thrive without the overwhelm. Inside, you'll find show notes, downloads, worksheets, and exclusive recordings to help you get started. Plus, it's not just about advice, it's about connection. You'll join a supportive group of people on the same journey, cheering each other on and sharing ideas that actually work. The best part? It's totally free to join. So why not take the first step today? Head over to patreon.com/goodenoughwellnesspodcast and join the community where wellness meets real life. Let's grow together. You've got this. So we named this When You Have a New Hammer, and I think it's kind of in honor of my mother-in-law, your mom, who likes to say, well, when you have a new hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Yes.
And oh, is it true?
Yeah. Yeah, she always says this whenever like someone learns something new and they
become evangelists.
Yes. And
Yes.
they need you to know all of the things that they have learned.
Yes.
Which I mean is fun.
We love that. I mean, we do.
But
it's why you just heard me wax poetic about pizza for the last 5 minutes. But there are some downsides to that.
Definitely some nuance.
Yeah.
And I think we've all been in those shoes where we have a new hammer and now everything and everybody looks like a nail.
Which, I mean, I hope you've encountered things in your life that make you that excited. Like, those are great things. That's great energy. But it can be hurtful to the people around you. It can be a bit much.
Yeah.
You know, you learn this new thing and you think it is just the best thing ever and it is going to change your life. When in reality, sometimes it's not all that. Sometimes it can be detrimental, or sometimes it's like this thing that you think is going to fix your life is this teeny tiny piece to your like 3,000 piece jigsaw puzzle.
Right.
I'm not sure where to go after that. That's it. That's the podcast. Don't be mean. Don't be dumb. But no, why, maybe you can talk a little bit about like why you wouldn't want to kind of beat somebody over the head with this brand new knowledge you got.
So I was thinking about this because let's just start here. I'm somebody who learns things and gets like really into them, and then I get really excited about them, and I want everyone to know and be excited about it as much as I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't do this with just like one or two things. I do this with like everything. It's like every week I have 2 or 3 things, it feels like. That I'm like, you have to know this. This is the next best thing. Because I'm just really excited about it because I love to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see the looks on people's faces when I start talking, and they're like, here she goes again. Like, it's something new.
Yeah. This is something I love, though. Like, I think there's so many good things about this kind of energy. Like, this is the kind of energy that my husband and our whole relationship is, because we are both like this. We are both nerdy, and we like to, like, we don't just want to know about birth stats. We want to know why. We don't just want to know about which motorcycle to buy. We want to know why. And all of the nitty gritty and all of the little details. And for us, this works great because I listen to his nerding out sessions and he listens to mine. But not everybody you meet, and not every aunt in your family, and not every cousin is going to want to hear this at your family reunion.
Right. But kind of going back to like why you wouldn't want to beat someone over the head with this, even though like it's great that we have relationships where we can kind of do that with each other. Like if there's somebody in your life, then you know that they're like, please stop talking about the thing that you love so much, because it goes against everything that they might believe. Like, for instance, like if you're on a big high protein kick and the person you love or person you know is like on a big keto kick, like constantly dropping all of this information about why high protein is better than keto, not only are you going to maybe come across as like kind of rude, but the more that you do this kind of stuff, it's human nature to resist that push.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, I think we've all seen the people pulling on a dog's leash, and it's like the more you pull, the more they pull. Or your kid, you know, you're pulling on their hand, and the more you pull, the more they pull. It's like, it's just human nature to resist. When you get up to do the dishes and someone says, hey, can you do the dishes? And now you're like, well, now I got to sit back down
Now I don't want to.
because now I can't because you asked me to. Just keep that in mind when you're subtly, quote unquote, dropping hints about why your way is so much better. The more you do this kind of stuff, the more they are going to resist and be less open to what you have to say.
Well, and I think I really learned my lesson on this when I was, you know, into different things than I am now, that turned out I kind of had to eat crow and be like, hey, remember when I thought this was so great? Not so great.
Yeah, it did not turn out well for me.
Yeah,
and a lot of other people.
Yeah, this actually wasn't a good plan. This wasn't a good move. So I would like to think, and I hope we come across this way, as we come across a little more curious and a little more like, hey, what if? And because we've had to really, is this 30? Is this where you're like,
right?
We're just more
less
humble,
dogmatic.
than we used to be, because gotten burned a few times.
Yep.
Because interestingly enough, we listened to somebody else who was like, this is going to change your life. It's going to make everything better. And suddenly like everything is going to be sunshine and rainbows and it's going to be great. And it turns out it wasn't great.
Right. That's exactly right. Oh, I was just thinking about this week actually, and how like I have some beliefs that I'm like, this does not work for people. Like, no one should be doing this because it does not work. And I kind of like caught myself and I was like, no, it might work for some people because we're all individuals. And that kind of like black and white thinking of like, this is how it works for all humans ever. Like, I'm sure there are some things that are like that, like poisonous things.
Sure.
Black and white. It's gonna kill you, period.
Mm-hmm.
But the big one that keeps coming up for me, at least, is fasting.
Yes.
So many people are into fasting right now. And my initial reaction is always, just you wait. Yeah, you're going to find out that it's not going to work for you. And I have to like really rein myself in and be like, be curious, be open.
Yeah.
Take in the data you see, not just the data you think you're going to see. You know, and it's like, just because my body wouldn't respond in a good way to fasting doesn't mean that all bodies respond in a bad way to fasting. It's probably responsible ways to do it for some people.
Yeah.
Just because I'm not in a space that can do that doesn't mean that it's automatically bad.
Yeah. Can I give you an analogy? So bee stings, right? Would you ever want a bee sting? Some people are very allergic to them. Some people can die from them. Some people, they just hurt and they're annoying. But there's actually some people who get stung on purpose for a couple of reasons. One, from what I understand, if you are like married to a beekeeper, for example, but you don't work with the bees, from encountering the venom on like the clothes or on, like on your partner or whatever, you can actually have like a really bad reaction if you aren't getting stung regularly.
Yeah.
So you actually like want to go purposely get stung here and there so that you don't develop issues.
Seems so
Isn't
bizarre
it crazy? Allergies are wild to me. And then there is actually some people who have like autoimmune disorders. Please don't quote me on this, but I want to say it was like arthritis, maybe something like that. That they're finding
inflammation kind of.
They're finding bee stings to be therapeutic.
This is how homeopathy works.
Right. So like right off the bat, you might want to say
bee stings are bad.
Bee stings are bad. People die from them.
Right.
Not a lie.
Black
that
and
is
white.
True. People do die from them. And then some people are finding they are life-saving.
Yeah.
Or quality of life-saving. So it's just kind of this like reminder in nature that you just can't look at things black and white.
Right.
You just can't. And it's frustrating, I think, because
yes, for most of us.
Yeah. I think most people are black and white where they would like to have yes and no's.
Well, we want to be right. So in order
Yes.
for us to be right, there has to be a wrong.
Right. Correct.
I love how this episode about like be gentle with your people turned into like, let's talk philosophy.
Ew. Hey,
I actually love it.
back to our whole premise of nuance.
Yeah.
You know, we set out to make this like wellness podcast, and I think it could probably be renamed as like a nuance podcast because we're just
Yeah.
like life and the world that's created around us is full of nuance.
It just is.
Yeah. I was thinking about this whole like, you know, you learn this something new and you want everybody to know. And I think sometimes it's out of love and sometimes it's out of pride. But there's this quote, and maybe you know who said it because I don't remember who said it, but it goes like preach the gospel always and when necessary use words.
I don't remember who that is off the top
It's
of
a
my
famous
head.
one.
My mom would know.
People are screaming at us right now.
Yeah.
But and it's just that reminder of like the things you do and the actions you take are way more influential than the words you say.
Yeah.
Not that words aren't important. In fact, if anything, we're saying they're very important.
Yeah.
And getting everybody on board with the Whole30 is not worth like sacrificing relationships.
Right.
Making sure that your Christmas dinner is all organic is not worth
Yeah.
relationships. Making sure your grandma doesn't use sugar-free Jell-O in her pies is not worth the relationship.
Right.
It's just not. So I would like to just introduce you to our second point, which is my favorite one on our 2-point document that we made. And it's just don't be an ass. Thank you.
Just don't. Just stop it.
Just stop it. That's it. That's the line. Just stop it.
In the most loving way possible. And I know like you don't think you're being an ass.
Yeah.
I've never thought I was being an ass in the moment. Like,
Right.
I mean, now looking back, I'm like, wow, I was kind of being an ass. But insisting on your way
Mhm.
or like insisting that someone listen to you or even just like, I know I keep saying it, but this is me. The subtle hint dropper, like, or I think it's a subtle hint where I'm
Yeah.
just like, did you know this, that, and the other thing? Like,
Yep.
it just is like, I don't know. People see it.
Yep.
People feel it. They're annoyed.
Yeah. And I think when you kind of have a reputation of being like the crunchy one or whatever, like
Yeah.
people perceive that as you having really big opinions, which
Mhm.
you probably do, but that doesn't mean they have to entail those people.
Yeah.
Like I think a really common one is when you have a home birth, everybody assumes that you hate hospitals and you wish nobody would go and
Yeah.
nobody should give birth there. So like I know I've like picked up different mantras. Like people will say to me like, oh, I could never do that. And I'd be like, hey, wherever you feel safest is the safest place for you to give birth.
Yep.
Or like, hey, like the whole point is freedom to choose.
Yep.
That is the whole point of like freedom in your birth. Like if you want to have a home birth, that's fantastic. If you want to have a hospital birth, also fantastic.
Yeah. You
I
gotta
wish
do what
you
works for you.
The absolute best. Yeah. Just
Yeah.
because they're not the choices I made or the choices I would make doesn't mean they're not like, I'm not you. I'm not making your choices.
Exactly. I had somebody, I pack my lunch for work most days,
Mm-hmm.
and someone
I'm
noticed.
so proud of you.
Yes, it's a struggle some days. Someone noticed, and like the next week they said, "Oh, Kayla doesn't eat fast food," and I went, "What? I had Burger King last night." Like,
Yes.
it's not that I don't eat fast food; it's that because I'm there multiple times a week, I have to be intentional about not eating fast food multiple times a week for
Mhm.
me, my body, my goals, and just like I know what I need to do in order to move the needle on my health.
Yeah.
And one of those things is not eating Chick-fil-A 3 times a week.
Yeah. And the thing is, that person didn't need to know all that. You probably said something like, are you kidding? It's delicious. Like, you probably
Right.
just like,
Yeah.
no, I used to eat fast food all the time. Like,
yeah,
or when
was
I
just
feel like
kind
it,
of
I do.
I never once said that because they even asked why I packed my lunch, and I was like, well, I work here multiple times a week, and I probably shouldn't eat fast food 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Like, that was just my entire reason. It wasn't I don't eat fast food or I think fast food is bad. Like,
yeah.
is just kind of like, but that's how people perceive it.
Yeah.
And
you know what? They're allowed to.
Yeah. Which, I mean, isn't on me. Under this point of not being an ass, like, it wasn't like I didn't pack my lunch because I had a point to prove to my coworkers.
Right.
But it was I think it was kind of perceived that way.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I'm sorry if that happens to you, because I know you're probably trying not to be an ass.
But here we are.
Like, I think it just gets perceived that way sometimes.
Yeah. So grace always.
Yeah.
If you're on either side of the spectrum on that. And likewise, like when people come to us and they have a new hammer, try to be really gentle with them, because you've been there, I bet.
This is when I have to practice having an open mind and being like, they're learning something that's really exciting to them.
I mean, gosh, we just had a whole deep dive on fasting because people made us curious, and we decided instead of shutting it down and being like, this is terrible, we said, hey, let's get curious about this.
I want to learn more.
Mm-hmm.
And it might work for some bodies. And that's kind of like where I try to be like, someone's like, did you see this Instagram reel? And I was like, no, I didn't. And they're like, what did you think? And I was like, I think it could work for some people.
Yeah.
It probably wouldn't work for me. I mean, I couldn't know that without trying, I guess, but I'm sure it works for some people.
Yeah.
So kind of like just wrapping this up, landing the plane a little bit. Let's just talk about some ways that you could talk about what you're excited about that aren't super pushy, that use a little bit more nuance.
Mm.
One of my favorite things to say is something I've been learning a lot about lately is fill in the blank.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be like anything, but this way you're kind of like, it doesn't sound like I'm 100% bought in and sold, which sometimes I'm not. I am just truly just learning.
Yeah.
But it kind of like opens the door for them to be like, oh yeah, I know some things about that. Here's my take on it.
Yeah.
And it kind of opens a conversational doorway rather than a like, let me info dump on you until you're annoyed with me.
Right. Now it's more of a conversation than just I'm going to like just regurgitate all these facts at you.
Right.
And it also separates you from it a little bit to be like, this is a thing I'm learning about, not a thing that I'm, like you said, 100% bought in on.
Yeah. Do you have any?
It's really awesome if you know that you are one of these people who like likes to info dump, that likes to like get all in, is to either have a friend or condition your spouse to listen and be able to info dump on them, so that, they can get curious and excited too, or not. They can just listen, and then they can also ask some really good critical questions like,
yes, this is my husband.
I feel bad that we're like picking on fasting. We really have no.
That's just what like our most recent like deep communal deep dive was.
Right. So it's like when you get really excited and you're just like, this could be so awesome, it's gonna fix all my problems, all this stuff, and then you can go, what about this part of it though?
Right.
How about how this hormone functions? What are you gonna do if this happens? And it can kind of like douse your fire a little bit, kind of calm down and be like, ooh, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
So having somebody who like is equally as nerdy as you to kind of like bounce off of it really does make a difference. I do wonder, because we talk a lot about energy lately and about like you got to get it out, and it's like I wonder if info dumping is one of those like you got to get the energy out thing. Like you've been learning, it's been all this input and stuff, and you do need to do something with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
That makes sense actually to me.
Yeah. Maybe start a journal. I don't know.
Right. I mean,
we started a podcast, so.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, this is why people, like, have blogs.
Yeah.
Like, write books.
Yeah.
Have podcasts.
Yeah, totally.
Instagram accounts. Like, it's basically a way to info dump, and if you would like to join along, good.
Right. Totally. I like it.
The other thing, like, I think, because sometimes, like, when you have a new hammer kind of looks like is when someone says something and they're like asking your opinion and you're like, how do I say this nicely that's going to let them down easy because you know that you disagree with them. And so a helpful phrase in that kind of situation is, I have found this to be true. because then it's kind of like, this is my experience. I'm not saying it's gospel truth, and it's not downplaying their experience.
Sure.
Because, if keto works for this person, but it didn't work for you, it kind of gives you the option to say, well, in my experience, this is what happened when I went on keto. And like, I've learned a lot about like why that is, but like, I'm really happy that it's working so well for you because like we talked about earlier, like there's a lot of bio-individuality, like something about their specific body and their hormone profile and their health history and everything might lend them to being much more receptive to keto or whatever it might be.
Yeah, any number of things.
While yours lends you to not being very receptive to that kind of eating way or whatever. So like just using the phrase, in my experience, this is what's happened or what I have found to be true. Like just kind of like I statements rather than like humans can't eat keto. You need carbs to survive. Like that is so...
That's aggressive.
Yes, aggressive, inflammatory, and it makes them feel like their experience isn't valid.
Yeah, which of course is not true.
Right.
So hopefully that made sense at the end of the episode. I feel like we just ping-ponged all over the place, and I am so sorry. It's hard to do something when you're not super dogmatic about being right about it, I guess.
Yeah.
But hopefully you got something out of that. I would love to hear, like, what is something that you've had to kind of eat crow on that you got all in and you got excited and I'll go first, and this is super embarrassing, but there was a time in our whole family's life, not me, our whole family, that we were dairy free and grain free, and it did not end well. Yeesh. Well, it did because now we're not. So
yeah, I guess it ended in the best possible way because you've reintroduced it.
Right, all's well that ends well. So yes,
I'll go second. For me, it was calorie counting.
Yeah.
I thought everybody needed to have MyFitnessPal and track their calories.
Oof.
And if they weren't getting results, they needed to do it harder.
There you go.
I'm really sorry, everybody.
Let's not take that out of context. I was like, I'm going to make a whole clip just with that.
Just clip that right out and be like, hear what this nutritional therapy practitioner had to say.
No.
Put me on blast.
I mean... what is that? No such thing as bad news. No, how does that go? All publicity is good. No such thing as bad publicity. Yes. I got there. I got there eventually. No news is bad. That's really bad. Oh, okay. Anyways, that's all we have to say.
There isn't any more. What if I told you the little pill you were prescribed could be hiding a dark secret? Hormonal birth control is marketed as safe and convenient, but the truth? The risks are far greater than most women are told. From blood clots to mood swings, nutrient depletion to long-term fertility struggles, it's time to uncover the birth control cover-up. Join me on May 6th, 2025 at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a free true crime-inspired training where we expose the hidden dangers, the industry cover-ups, and the safer alternatives your doctor won't tell you about. And if you can't make it live, don't worry. The replay plus an exclusive bonus guide will be sent directly to your inbox as long as you're registered for the event. Register now for birth control on trial at the link in the show notes before the evidence disappears.
So, Kayla, what's good this week?
I think we have a mutual what's good this week.
We do.
And it is the weather.
The weather. Like, I wasn't sad. I just needed a 70-degree day in March.
Yes.
In northwestern Pennsylvania. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord.
Absolutely spoiled up here.
We went from like 3 feet of snow to no snow in a week and a half, 2 weeks?
Yep. I've been going for lots of walks because the weather's been so nice and the ground is so dry.
Even at your house?
Yeah. I cannot go for walks usually because it's just a gigantic pond.
Yeah, we were talking, like we're supposed to get some rain over the weekend and everybody's sad, which is understandable, but I'm like, we almost need it. Like it's getting dusty in March.
Right. So we have a creek that runs through our property, and normally in March,
Mm-hmm.
we get a ton of rain.
It's flooded and stuff.
Everything floods. Like the one field across the road from our house is basically just a gigantic creek.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a 1 acre field, and it's just all rushing water.
Yeah.
We did not have any of that. Like the creek came up over the banks at one point.
Mm-hmm.
We had rain, and it was when the snow was melting, and that was it. We have not had any flooding.
As I thought for sure we were going to have like record flooding based on the amount of snow we had to melt off. And it's been really
I think it evaporated
uneventful.
because it was so warm.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it this morning as I was walking because I was like, why didn't like all the snow melt cause more flooding? And I was like, I think it's because it warmed up so fast that a lot of it just evaporated.
Yeah. It's so cool.
And the ground like thawed and so it could absorb it.
Yeah. It makes my heart happy when my kids are just like stripping clothes off and getting as much sun as they can possibly get.
Yep.
My one son came in, he's like, my ears are itchy. I was like, dude, I think you got a little sunburn.
Yep. My nieces got sunburnt on Thursday because we were just like outside all day.
They're very fair too.
Yeah, and they're pretty fair girls. But yeah.
It's been beautiful. It's
I got
so
my
good.
first tan.
So
in
ever?
March.
Oh.
Yeah, ever. No, of the year.
Amazing. I'm here for it. I think it just fixed everything.
Yeah, and it was very good.
It was very good. Amen.
I feel like the Genesis story.
That's why I said amen. Thank you for listening to the Good Enough Wellness Podcast.
To learn more about my one-on-one packages, join my mailing list and follow me on Instagram at KaylaKingWellness.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Good Enough Wellness Podcast feed wherever you listen to podcasts. You don't want to miss an episode.
Follow us on Instagram at Good Enough Wellness Podcast to learn about upcoming episodes and join our free Patreon to interact with the Good Enough community.
The Good Enough Wellness Podcast, because good enough can be good enough.
Well, that's good enough for me.
Me too.